Something is wrong with my girlfriend. Me, M26, and my girlfriend, F25, have been living together in an apartment for 2.5 years. Everything has been normal until quarantine started, around 4 weeks ago, when I started noticing some odd things. For instance, for the last 3 weeks or so, my GF has been putting sugar in her morning coffee, while throughout our entire relationship she's always been very much against it. It may seem like a small detail, but she's always been complaining about how I don't know what real coffee is since I put quite a lot of sugar. Fast forward a few days and another odd thing happened. We were having sex and she suddenly suggested a sex pose that we had already tried once, but it had gone wrong and it hurt her a lot, so we had simply decided not to try it anymore. Naturally, I was very surprised with her suggestion, and reminded her about the time when it went wrong, and she just completely dismissed it, saying that I probably mixed her up with some ex-girlfriend or that I was just tripping. We then did the pose and we actually enjoyed it. Today, the weirdest thing happened, which is the reason I'm writing this post. In the afternoon, I was working at home. I'm employed as a PhD student at the computer science department of a university, when my GF asked me what's up with a guy who I've never heard of before. I asked her who is she referring to, and she said, well, it's that colleague of yours who you always talk about, the one from the company where you were employed at. I froze, and asked her to repeat, and she said the exactly same thing all over again. Then I told her that I don't work at any company, nor have I ever worked at any company, since I started a PhD straight after my master degree. At this point, she also completely froze and we were just staring at each other completely confused and shocked for a few moments. She then asked me WTF is going on, and I reminded her about the coffee thing and about the sex pose and that I don't know any more what is going on. At this point, she started crying too and asked what is wrong with us. Nor she, nor me, nor anyone in both families have ever had any mental problems in the past. We don't know what to do about this. Can anyone explain what's wrong with us? It could be this quarantine is forcing you to notice the signs of your relationship having bad communication / being inattentive to each other. The coffee. Maybe she has always used sugar. But you just assume she doesn't because of her past comments about you using too much sugar. She just meant it as you use so much you don't know what coffee actually tastes like, but you took it to mean using sugar in coffee is bad and assumed she didn't use any. The sex thing. Maybe it did happen with a past GF. Or, maybe you've overemphasized your memory of the past incident, as being a bigger deal than it was to her. And possibly misread your assumed agreement to not try that again. While to her it was a minor enough incident that she's forgotten about it. The non-existent colleague / company. Could also be a sign of bad communication, or her not paying attention to things you say / your life. The guy you've never heard of before could be her just getting the name / details wrong about someone you have spoken of before, or she's thinking of things someone else talked to her about. The company, she maybe genuinely just assumed you did work for some company. And any work you mentioned doing must be for that company, when you were really talking about the work you do for the university. Anyway, those are some possible simple explanations that come to mind for me. Here is my alternate theory. Maybe she is right. Have you looked into that? Have you tried to contact that guy or tried to check old email about any company? Or check your resume from past? I think you have enough evidence to prove either you are right or your GFs. Don't panic, think logically. I was someone's glitch in the matrix. I went out, parked in front of a store, bought a 6-pack of water and went to register NR2, paid with change. Half an hour later, I remembered I wouldn't be going out anytime soon again, so I decided to buy more water, and everything happened in the exact same order. I parked at the same spot, entered, bought a 6-pack, register 2 is free, same girl working there, I even paid with same amount of change coins. She looked at me with a bit of horror and confusion but couldn't see me smiling under my mask. I was also someone's glitch sort of. I just say it was a huge coincidence, but the other dude's reaction would say differently. I went to North Carolina in 2018 with some friends and we went to Blowing Rock to visit the shops, and we stopped at a Kilwins to get ice cream and fudge. There was a young guy who worked there who gave us different fudges and ice creams to try. I bought a maple pecan fudge and we left. Maybe a day or two later, we go to a different Kilwins but still in Blowing Rock, maybe a few minutes from the other one, and that same guy was there. I was not shocked so much because I thought he probably does part-time at both Kilwins lol, and I've seen people do it before, but he was surprised to see me and that I even asked to try the same fudges I had at the last Kilwins lol, because why not, how shameless of me, and I even ordered the same maple pecan fudge. I also had the same beanie and coat on. Needless to say, the dude's face was priceless. He was so shocked, I swear he lost all the color on his face, and I was cracking up and asking my friend if she remembered him. Anyway, I couldn't help myself, and so I asked him if he worked in the other Kilwins, and he was a bit relieved after I asked him because he thought he was experiencing major deja vu, but in reality, I just really like Kilwins and he happened to work at both Kilwins and Blowing Rock. I once did this while walking mine and my boyfriend's dogs lol. I was walking my dog first, had on sweats and a t-shirt, the leash I was using was red. I usually walk them around the apartment building in like a circle to do their business. I'm walking around and see a person, they just wave and keep it moving. I get back around to my door and switch dogs to my boyfriend's dog and go back to the same circular pattern around the building. Person I caught earlier comes back in the other direction, guessing they forgot something, but they just stop and stare at me from a distance. Same me in the same outfit, same red leash, but now with a dog that's about 40 pounds larger and a different color. I could tell it made them second guess everything, lol. I died last night. But I'm still here. So this actually happened last week. It just took me some time to come to terms with it. I got a phone call from my next door neighbor late in the evening asking if I can help him move a mattress into his upstairs. His mom is ill and has a big heavy sleep number bed. I of course ran over to help because they're great neighbors. I get over there and his friend, who is also a priest, was there to help. I helped them figure out how to separate the mattress from the bed so we could fit it upstairs. We get it all moved up and back in place when my neighbor asks if I can help them move an armoire upstairs too. I think nothing of it and we pull it out of his travel trailer and start bringing it up the front stairs of his house. This is where I died. The front stairs are 11 steps. I was on the lower end of the armoire about 6 steps up when my neighbor and his friend lose a handle on the armoire and it comes crashing down on me and I fall backwards towards the pavement. I then wake up in my dining room to my phone ringing and my wife asking me if I'm going to answer the phone. It's my neighbor asking me if I can help move a bed upstairs for his mom. I go over there and meet his priest friend again, as this has been the first time I met him. I say I can help with the bed but I cannot help with the armoire. My neighbor was like, how'd you know about the armoire? I then proceeded to tell them I'm pretty sure I just died. I spent the next hour talking with the priest. He had so many questions. My neighbor didn't believe it until I described the upstairs bedroom in perfect detail down to the metal mattress frame on the floor and the intricate headboard leaning against the wall, and I had never been upstairs in their house before. The priest asked me what I saw after I died. I told him I never actually died. Before it happened I woke up at my dining room table. TLDR. I experienced my death but woke up alive about 20 minutes earlier in my life. Thank you all for the awards. I never expected this post to blow up. I've been trying my best to follow the comments and post answers to questions or clarify statements. My story. After a fresh light rain, I was turning onto an on-ramp and started to accelerate from around 40 miles per hour to about 70 miles per hour to merge with the high-speed traffic on the expressway. As soon as I touched the gas, my car swung around and I started drifting across 4 lanes of 70 miles per hour rainy traffic, facing the cars, as my car was now facing backward, sliding everywhere. I remember one guy giving me the finger as he flew past me. Then I remember horrible crunching, wrenching sound, and suddenly my car was moving back the other way toward the bridge side, over the highway I had just turned off. As my car slid back across traffic I was sure I was gonna slam into the bridge side and end on the road below. When I got the point where that would happen, there was another huge slamming, crunching, and then, suddenly I was just stalled out on the on-ramp. Like I had driven up onto the highway and stalled, stopped in the breakdown lane on the bridge as soon as I got up there. I got out and looked at my car from all angles and there wasn't a scratch or dent or any evidence of what just happened. I remember there being a horrible explosive type of collision twice, but nothing. I just smoked a cigarette in the on-ramp, breakdown lane, called my parents and told them I loved them, and then went on my first date with my future wife. It was my weirdest experience. My 5-year-old son broke character and talked to me like an adult. This happened about 2 years ago and I was so blown away I took notes and told my wife about it, so I still have the notes on my phone. My 5-year-old son was pretty typical for his age, always goofing around, never serious, always working some angle to negotiate treats or buying whatever thing was at the top of his list this week. Kids have a selfish worldview and that's mostly understandable because they haven't matured yet. So when my son asked me to go for a walk, just the two of us, I immediately laughed and thought, okay, what's he going to ask for? We start walking and I ask, what's on your mind, buddy? He said, nothing really, I just want to have some time to be with you and be peaceful and be out in nature. Wow, okay, this is progress, I thought. Then he said, I want you to know you're the best dad I've ever had. You really do help me and my sister a lot and you're really very nice, even though we don't usually tell you. So I just wanted to say thank you for everything and that I want to be near you always. By this point, The only reason I wasn't completely crying my eyes out is that I thought it was some kind of a joke or lead up to ask for something. This was totally out of character, especially at this age. I managed to croak out something like, "I'm really glad to hear that and I love you very much." Then we just enjoyed the rest of the walk. It really felt like for a moment I was speaking to a soul who has had several lives. "You're the best dad I've ever had," and wanted to speak directly to me instead of play the role of a child. I'm so glad it happened, and it's something I will never forget. Later he went right back to being the same old goofy kid that I love. "You're my favorite mummy I've had, and I'd like you to be my mummy again next time," were things my toddler said over and over to his mom. He was a fountain of past life stories and weird paranormal encounters at that age. Or an extremely imaginative child, depending on how you want to look at it. My son, who is 4, had a few moments like this. Once when we were playing, he spontaneously said, "Remember back when I was big? Like really big? Like 27. And I was the daddy. But then I died and now you're my daddy." One time during a rainstorm, he was in the car with his mom. She has a fear of bad weather. Out of nowhere, our son said in a really serious voice, "It's okay, everybody dies. We just have to start over again. Like go back to being a baby." And when doing some crazy gymnastic moves, he said, "When you're a kid again, you've got to try this." That is adorable. You almost have me crying. When my son was about 4, he asked me to go for a walk after dinner. For him it was usually a nature thing, and he'd stuff his pockets with rocks and leaves, and God knows what else. This particular day we walked along silently, and he didn't stop to pick anything up or ask dozens of questions or anything. Finally, I said, "We aren't picking rocks up or chatting. Why did we come out?" He looks at me like I'm an idiot and says, "To walk off the ham."